Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. I have a special guest today, Ola Lessard. Ola Lessard is the Vice President of Marketing for Barleans, and the company has been around for over 29 years. It is a family-owned company, and they are very concerned with making an impact in the world. And I absolutely love their lemon swirl, their lemon zest fish oil. It's like a swirl. And I have been known from time to time, you guys, to take a swig of it on air because it's so yummy. She's going to talk to us about all of that and why essential fatty acids are so important to us. The buzzword on hemp oil and all sorts of things about our health that concern us today, you guys. So make sure to tune in because she has so much information. She's worked in organics. She's worked for Stonyfield Yogurt. I mean, it's endless. So I just want to give a heartfelt welcome to Ola. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be on. It's nice to be part of the sisterhood.
Awesome. And I'm so excited, really, truly. I was going to take a swig of that fish oil on air, but I'm out.
Oh no, you should. I have some in my fridge. I can grab some.
That's how much I absolutely adore it. Yeah, my husband and I kind of fight over it. So it's kind of funny. So I'm very excited. I wholeheartedly use your product and talk a lot about it in my online course called The Sweat Project. So tell everybody a little bit about why it's not just yummy, but it's good for us.
Yeah, so we have a product line, as you mentioned, called Omega Swirl. We're actually about to rename that product line coming out in the next few months. So those of you who do use it, you'll be seeing a new name and a new label really soon, and I hope that you love it as much as we do. It is going to be called Seriously Delicious Omega-3 from here on out, and you'll see that change starting, as I said, just in the summer of 2018 now. So coming out in the next few months, they'll start to see those bottles change. And the reason we're renaming it Seriously Delicious Omega-3 is because, as people know who like that product, it is delicious. I mean, we literally get, texts and calls and, messages from parents, videos they'll send us of their kids begging for their fish oil. And this did not happen when I was growing up, I assure you.
Well, that's why I think it's so funny that you named it Seriously Delicious, because when I'm telling people about how much they need to go get this fish oil, how great it is, I'm telling them it's seriously delicious, because they're like,
no, fish oil is not supposed to be delicious.
Fish oil, it's seriously delicious. So I had to laugh when you told me you renamed it. I'm like, that's perfect.
It is perfect. I mean, so it's because it is really a delicious product. And like I said, we get videos from parents whose kids are like, Mom, can I have my Barleans? And they're like, I don't know. Is your room clean? The kid scurries off to clean their room to get their fish oil, which, is just, I had to take a spoonful of cod liver oil every morning growing up from my mom. And, she was diehard about it, and it was gross, and you burped it up all day long. And, we know that a lot of people realize that they're supposed to take fish oil, right? That they need those essential fatty acids because, I always say they're called essential for a reason. They are essential to our diet. Our bodies need them, our brains need them, and we can't make them. So a lot of the nutrients that we might supplement with, we also make in our bodies. We don't make essential fatty acids. We have to consume them. So it's really important to have a source of essential fatty acids. And for people who are vegan or vegetarian and don't eat fish, they should be looking for a plant-based source, and the best plant-based source is flax oil. So there are actually also flax options in that Seriously Delicious line, which is now Omega Swirl in the store. But we call it Seriously Delicious because it's delicious, but it also is a serious product. And we happen to have a formulator at Barleans who is just a magician when it comes to flavors. And again, most people don't think of fish oil as being something that they really are psyched about taking. But we've done something that has allowed it to be really yummy. But what I want to share too is it's more than just delicious. It is made in a different way. We also make regular traditional liquid fish oils. We make fish oil capsules, but our owner, Bruce Barlean, will tell you if what you really want to do is get those omega-3s out of your fish oil or out of your flax oil, you're going to get more out of each spoonful when you emulsify an oil. So I want to explain that because it's actually really important for people to understand what emulsification is and why it's so important. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is, when we get a bottle of any supplement, you have the supplement facts panel, and it'll tell you there's so many milligrams of this in this product per teaspoon or tablespoon or per capsule or whatever. That's how much is in there. It is not necessarily how much your body absorbs. And that's really important for people to understand that, different formats for delivery of any supplement have different absorption rates. So when you take a gel cap, and again, we make fish oil gel caps, we make flax oil gel caps, they're great, they're very high quality, but we don't absorb as much with a gel cap as we do with straight liquid, and we never absorb as much of what's on the spoon from a straight liquid oil as we do from an emulsified oil. And I want to break that down a little bit if I can, because I think it's really important for people to understand why that is. So I kind of simplify this, and this is super not a scientific way of explaining this. And so scientists.
Well, you know what? That's good, because my audience will appreciate it. They'll understand what you're talking about.
Right. You know what I mean? I always say, we all know that our bodies are mostly water, right? I mean, we're sort of water-based beings. And so we're really good at absorbing things that are water-based. We also all know that oil and water don't mix really well. And so I guess the way I look at it is we're made of water. And whenever we're taking in an oil, our bodies are not particularly adept at absorbing oils. And, the people know they're supposed to take fish oil, and you can probably guess what the reason is people stop taking their fish oil is because that burping up the gross taste all day long. You're in a meeting and you're like, you have the fish oil burp, or you're just at home and you're like, no, that's gross. I didn't want to taste it 7 times. And the reason we're burping up fish oil, it's kind of the same reason why if you have a big greasy meal, you might feel queasy afterward. That is your body's signal. It's your body's way of saying, I can't absorb all this oil. I'm not good at that. I'm rejecting this because it's not getting absorbed in through my intestinal wall. And so it's not getting into your body if it doesn't do that. So your body's sort of going I can't handle all this. So you're burping that up. And that's a really good sign that you haven't absorbed an oil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so when you emulsify an oil, basically what you're doing is you're taking sort of a water-based liquid and an oil, and you're whipping them together really fast. And anybody who's a cook will know what emulsification is, but if you're a chef, emulsification is how we make a mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is a water base and an oil, and they're whipped together so hard and long that they no longer separate into the 2 layers. And that's what an emulsification is in, the most simple form, is to say you basically break those oil droplets down so small that they stay suspended in water as opposed to immediately separating out. And so emulsifications will always be kind of thick and creamy, and they're not separating oil and liquid. So, so that's basically what we've done with that Omega Swirl product, the Seriously Delicious product, is we have emulsified that oil, and we've broken down those droplets of oil into much, much smaller particle size. And when you do that, it allows your body to absorb them more readily. So what happens is when you have a tablespoon of regular fish oil and you have a tablespoon of an emulsified fish oil, your body will absorb more of the emulsified fish oil because it can take in those tiny particle sizes. They can get through the intestinal wall. They can absorb into your body. So you're actually getting more of the nutrients out of that oil because you only get what you can absorb, and the rest of it goes through your body. And so that's really important. So that product, when we say seriously delicious, we mean it's delicious, and it's seriously delicious, but we also mean it's a serious product, and there's a really good reason we've made it the way we have. And so really any nutrient that's an oil, if you can find an emulsified version of it, you should probably take the emulsified version of it. And that's just a critical thing that most people don't realize about. They just know it's yummy, but what they don't realize is they're getting way more out of it. You don't get everything off the spoon that you put in your mouth. If your body can't absorb it, you're missing out on those nutrients. So if you make it more absorbable or more bioavailable, as we say, you're getting more out of what's on the spoon. And we did a small pilot test with that one. We don't use this number because it was a small pilot program. But we basically did blood tests for omega-3 before we gave people fish oil capsules, and we gave them the omega swirl product, and we saw 9 times absorption, 9 times more absorption with the omega swirl. Now we on our bottle will say 3 times because that's been shown over and over and over again. It's probably higher. We're a conservative company, so we don't ever want to overpromise and underdeliver. But you absorb a minimum probably of at least 3 times more of the omega-3s out of that product than you will out of a traditional fish oil, in a liquid or capsule form. So it's really cool to know that difference.
And I love that. And I have a couple of stories to relate to what you're saying. My dad, of course, was a huge health nut, and he would take the fish oil and with garlic too, and he would be gripping that up, and I'd be hugging him and like, Dad. He would get the fish oil that was odorless, and I'd still be like, Dad.
Yeah.
And but I never understood at the time why he was burping up that fish oil, but the smell is just not favorable. And I'm sure you don't really want to taste your fish oil over and over. And this is probably what people in the past have experienced. And I did some interning with New York Times bestselling author Anne Louise Gilman, and I went to workshops with Barry Sears, and they both tell you that if you take capsules of fish oil, you have to almost take like 9 capsules to equal a tablespoon of the oil. So I would just always take before I got the swirl, I would just take a tablespoon of the oil.
Yep.
And Anne Louise always recommended Barleans. And Barry Sears would be like, you've got to get high quality fish oil. You can't, not all fish oil is not created equal.
That's
you can find pharmaceutical grade, or you can find a high quality fish oil. And so I've always relied on your brand, and I absolutely, I don't have the fishy burps. I just the swirl. That is what I swear by. And you guys, it's seriously delicious. I mean, I make dressing with it too. Like on my salads.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I make all kinds of dressings, and I know you're probably not supposed to bake with it. I know, but I made lemon blueberry breakfast cookies. Ooh. And everybody's like, what's that secret ingredient? This is so good.
You're like, fish oil.
And they're like, what? Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a really good point that you bring up with the fish burps. And again, what we hear over and over again is people don't burp up that product. And again, they don't know the reason, but the reason is they're actually absorbing it, which means they're getting the nutrients out of it, which is really important. But for them, they're just looking at it from the standpoint of I don't burp it up. And the really cool thing is actually we hear from a lot of people who have had their gallbladders removed. And as you know, that's really,
I know they cannot digest
typically
fats.
Can't process fats really well once you have your gallbladder removed. And we have people who come to us that are like, I don't have my gallbladder, so fats are a really challenging thing for me, but I can take this product. So that's really...
Well, that's a true test.
That's nice to know for people who are really, worried that they're not getting these nutritional oils, that they may want to try, whether it's ours. There are a couple other emulsified fish oils out there. We think ours taste the best, but, there are other good companies out there, but, whether it's ours or somebody else's, if you have, if folks don't have a gallbladder,
best flavor maker on your side.
I think we are, but I'm not going to diss any other companies because there's some really good companies out there that do similar things. But try an emulsified oil if you can find it. If especially if you have an issue with gallbladder or you've had your gallbladder removed, because you may be able to get some of these nutrients that you thought you could no longer get, and that's just really great for people to know.
Now, what are some of the, what all do you think, why should people take fish oil? First of all, what is the claim to fame there, and what is it going to do for them?
Yeah, so we know that omega-3s are really essential, and so they're really important for brain health. They have other properties, that have a lot of nutritional benefit in your bodies. I know when women are pregnant, that's when they usually hear about omega-3s, hot and heavy from their doc, where there's kind of like explain, omega-3s, DHA is critical for infant brain and eye development. So a lot of women, maybe they've heard of omega-3s, but they kind of been like, on the fence. But I know, when we're pregnant, we are super careful about trying to do everything right for the sake of our babies. And omega-3 DHA is critical for brain and eye development. EPA is also critical for other systems in your body. You can look at, it can be anti-inflammatory, so that can be beneficial. We have people that really look for EPA for different reasons. So, there are so many reasons we need omega-3s in our body. Fish oil is generally the source for EPA and DHA, but all omega-3s kind of start from a plant source. And so you have ALA, which is the version of omega-3 that you get from plants. And so flax is your best source for omega-3 ALA. Chia seed has some. There are some other plants that have, there's some algae that have ALA as well. And what we try to say is like what our bodies sort of need is the EPA and DHA. But that doesn't mean if you don't use fish oil and you prefer to go to a plant form, it doesn't mean that you can't get that, because our bodies convert that plant-based ALA omega-3 into the EPA and DHA we need. Now, what's kind of interesting is different people seem to convert at different rates. And it makes sense. I mean, I always kind of look at, like going back to when we were sort of cave people is how I always sort of put things in a context. Women of childbearing age convert the best. And it makes sense. If babies need DHA, and we're going to pass that DHA on from our bodies to a developing baby, or through nursing a newborn baby, we need that DHA. So women of childbearing age actually have a much higher conversion rate for plant-based ALA into the EPA and DHA that our bodies need. Men convert at a little bit lower rate. Women that are postmenopausal convert at a lower rate, but we all still convert. And I think that, I want to sort of clear up a misconception about the conversion of ALA into EPA and DHA. So you will see people like, oh, well, the average person only converts at 4%. But if you look at a tablespoon of flax oil, and I'm going to throw out numbers, and these aren't exact, so don't hold me to them exactly, but a tablespoon of flax oil contains something like around 7,000 milligrams of omega-3 ALA. So even if you only convert at 4%, you're ending up with a pretty good number of EPA and DHA, because it's such a big number to start with. And that's where I think people are like, oh, if you only convert 4%, but you're not converting a small number to an even smaller number. You're starting with a very large number of milligrams of omega-3 in the plant form. So it's okay to convert a low percentage, because we end up with a pretty good solid amount of, so you have to take a little bit more flax. We kind of say like 1.5 to maybe 2 times as much flax oil to get that same number. But you don't have to take 50 times more just because you convert it, only 5% or something. So I think that's just really important for people to understand, is the milligrams of omega-3 ALA that you get out of a tablespoon of flax oil is very high number. It's 7,000 something milligrams, I think. So when you convert, 4 or 5 or 10% of that, you're still ending up with a lot of EPA and DHA. So a little more flax if you're doing flax instead of fish. But we all need it. So whatever form you can get it in that you're comfortable taking, take it, and start with sort of, we sort of recommend, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams of EPA DHA combined. And that's about where those omega swirl products per tablespoon, depending on the formula, range from about 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams. And that's a really solid, good, efficacious dose for people to be taking. And they should take that every day. And kids should take it. I mean, there have been so many interesting studies done about, omega-3 deficiency and impact for kids who, have ADHD type behaviors, or being, concentration. I mean, anything to do with your brain, it's one of your brain foods. I mean, that's that old adage, fish is brain food. And that's probably where that came from.
The essential fat is what your brain runs on. So,
yes.
And if you
Yes.
can't manufacture it within, you've got
Yes.
to take it in.
Exactly. So, fish is brain food, and especially those fatty fish that are used. The other thing that we're really try to educate people on is the source of fish, what fish is being used. Is it sustainably sourced? Of course, is always important, but also the species of fish makes a really big difference in terms of the cleanliness of a fish and therefore the fish oil. So when you get really, really big fish, like
mercury in them.
Yeah, they're not as clean. They've been living a lot longer. They're eating everything in the food chain below them. So they tend to those oils need to be purified much more. Small-bodied fish, so, like anchovy and mackerel, those smaller fish are just start off cleaner. They don't live as long. They're lower on the food chain. So, while we there are people who just sort of grew up eating cod liver oil and they're looking for cod liver oil. We offer cod liver oil, but honestly, most of our products, we try to pack in those small-bodied fish, sourced from really clean waters. You want to look at where they source from. Clean, cold waters, create clean, fatty fish. So that's another thing.
I'm very thankful for your product, because when I grew up, the very first fish oil I ever had was cod liver oil.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, not that it's bad for you, it just didn't taste as good. And so I think, people will be interested to try the swirls and have that. Now, with your product, I know, like for me, I at one time had high mercury toxicity. I had mercury poisoning.
Wow.
So I'm very, that's why I use your product, but it's also why I am very cautious about what fish I eat.
Yeah.
And I watch for the mercury advisories. So what do you guys do in the purifying process to make your oil the best, so we're not have to worry about mercury poisoning and things like that?
Yeah. No, and that's a really great question. I'm glad you asked that. So it is really important for people. Again, as you mentioned earlier, not all fish oil is the same. So there are a couple things I want to touch on. First, one is rancidity. So we know that when oils go bad in general, whether it's just, our olive oil or whatever oil, you know the difference. I mean, your peanut butter has oil and obviously peanut oil. And when your peanut butter goes rancid, you taste it. We know that when we buy fresh fish to just cook, they always say it shouldn't smell fishy. Your fish oil supplement shouldn't smell fishy either, because if it is, that is a sign that it's rancid. And a lot of fish oil, the capsules are not, they go rancid too. And so I think that's one thing, when you're taking, whether it's a capsule or a liquid or anything, if you get that fishy taste, it's starting to turn a little bit. And that's probably not a product you should be using, because you don't want to put rancid oils into your body. You want your oils to be as fresh as possible. So that's just something to keep in mind, and again, there are a number of really solid brands out there. We are very, very focused on quality. We're not the only company that is. There are some great other companies out there. One of the things I will say about Barleans is we're big believers in, acknowledging that there are other really good companies out there and supporting those other companies as well. Because I think that makes all of us stronger. It's about getting people good products, and not everybody has Barleans available in their local backyard, or just prefers a different brand.
Where can you get Barleans? I usually get it at Whole Foods, or I have found it at Vitamin Shop, I think, before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're at Whole Foods, we're at Vitamin Shop, we're at Sprouts, we are at, a lot of independent sort of mom and pop health food stores around the country. We're available online as well, through Amazon. We sell some through Costco.
Great. Now they're coming to your door.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, obviously we want to support our smaller retailers as much as we can, but not everybody has health food stores anymore in their neighborhoods. So it is available through there. People can actually call us and order direct if they really need to. We don't sell direct through our website at this point, But, you know, we always are available. If somebody really needs it and they can't get it another way, we, you know, call our customer service line and we'll ship it to you. You know, so, but yeah, it's pretty available. And for those of you that can get it locally, please support your little guys and try to buy it locally. But we also understand that that's not always possible. So you can buy through Amazon and other places as well. Now we were going to talk about, you had asked another question about the fish oil, and now I'm spacing what it is. So
about the mercury. How do you purify it?
Yeah. Thank you. So, you know, we do third-party testing. So we, first of all of our oils are ultra purified to make sure that there are no heavy metals or other toxins in them. And then we also do third-party testing. So that means, you know, it's not just us testing our product, but we send it out to an independent lab and make sure, and anything that comes back with any concerns just doesn't go out. Fortunately, that doesn't happen, you know, too often. So, but it is really important, really, you know, with any supplement that you're using, that you are looking for someone who does that third-party testing. It's important. I mean, we all would like to think that every company is completely, you know, great and we could all police ourselves, but it's, you know, it's good to have somebody independent testing products and making sure that, you know, what they say is in the bottle in terms of efficacy, in terms of milligrams of whatever the nutrient you're looking for. And then
really FDA regulated for the most part, right?
What's that?
A lot of the things our supplements are not FDA regulated. So,
well, you know, we're actually much more regulated than people
realize. Okay.
I mean, we really are. I think that it used to be kind of Wild Westy, is my understanding, that it really was more of an issue before, but we're actually a pretty heavily regulated company. Industry now. So we have to be, and now that doesn't mean everybody, you know, I'm sure there are people who maybe don't follow the rules, but I think, you know, especially larger brands, we have to be very careful. We have to make sure that, you know, we don't say something is high in omega-3 if it's not. I mean, there are some terms that are regulated terms, and terms like high in or good source of or excellent source of, those actually have very specific benchmarks that you cannot use those terms unless you meet those, you know, the requirements of it has so many milligrams per X. And so we are actually extremely careful about terms like that. But I think third-party testing is a really critical sort of important step for consumers to know that somebody outside of that company is testing every batch to make sure, you know, that product really has what it says, you know, it has in it, and also that it's free from any toxins, mercuries, you know, sort of microbial contamination. Those are all really important things to be aware of.
Well, I know there was in the past, there have been companies that would not, I guess, have any FDA kind of regulation, and they got in trouble because they said they had this stuff that was chelating out the mercury in your system, and it didn't have the percentage that they said. So I know how important it is to have that third-party testing.
Yes.
We, you know, as consumer, it gives you a little more trust that what you say is in the bottle.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not just taking a sugar pill. I'm thinking.
Yes. And that's not always been the case, as you said. And I think, you know, the industry is much more regulated, and, but it's, you know, it's not like the FDA can swoop in and test every batch of every company's stuff. So you really do need to know that you
really want to know you have a good quality product, and that I mean, I think that's why it's key to have that third-party testing.
Yeah.
Not your company, it's somebody else then coming in and saying, yes, this is in here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it really is.
It gives you faith in the products that you're taking. And I think it's important if you're going to take it daily.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially if you're a person who's had mercury poisoning. I mean, that's nothing to mess around with. So that's.
Yeah. So I'm a little more serious than your average consumer about it.
Yes.
But anyway, on the other side of the coin, I'm healthy and happy and over 50 now. And I surpassed this mercury poisoning and learned how to not get it anymore. And so moving on to this product that is like a buzzword right now, the CBD oil, the hemp oil. What is the buzz on the hemp? And I know what I think it does for me. It makes me happy, you guys. I smile more, I laugh more. My brain functions really well on the hemp.
I'm glad to hear that. We're hearing a lot of great stuff, and people are really excited about hemp products in general, hemp-derived CBD. So, but there's still a lot of confusion out there. And so we get a lot of people questions. So we've just released 2 CBD hemp oils. So they're hemp-derived CBD, which is cannabidiol. And so the way I sort of, so a lot of people say like, isn't that marijuana? Is that the same as marijuana? And it's not. So the way we sort of, again, I like to use sort of simpler ways of explaining things for my own sake, but hopefully they help other people's too, is I think of hemp and marijuana as kind of, they are both cannabis plants. So they're both cannabis, but they're quite different from one another. They look different. They have different levels of different compounds. I sort of put them akin to like lemons and oranges are both citrus fruit, but they're quite different. They're like cousins more than, siblings. So marijuana has been, bred and cultivated to be high in THC, THC being the part of marijuana that basically is the thing that gets you high, gets you stoned. It's the psychoactive compound, if you will. So marijuana is high in THC and low in cannabidiol, which is CBD. Hemp, on the other hand, is high in CBD, which is not psychoactive at all, and low in THC. In fact, it cannot be classified as hemp if it has more than 0.3% of THC. So again, THC being the thing that gets you high, the psychoactive compound in marijuana. If you have more than 0.3% of THC in the plant, you can't even call it hemp. And so hemp plants, they look different, they grow differently, and they're very low in THC at all, and they're very high in CBD, and people are really excited about CBD. So I think, probably one of the things that a lot of people might be familiar with was, gosh, I can't remember how many years ago that this Sanjay Gupta special came out where he was talking about weed and sort of misconceptions about marijuana in general, but he highlighted this little girl, Charlotte, who was, having, something like 200 seizures a day. She had the form of epilepsy that, thankfully is fairly rare, but there are kids who have this where they're just constantly seizing. And this little girl was, just the medications that she was being put on, were just these really powerful medications for a tiny kid. I think she was 5 years old when this special was made. And sort of, again, it was a long time ago that I actually watched this, but I was really struck by it. I remember my kids were quite young, and I was trying to, think about, okay, I smoked some pot in high school and college, and, I've got kids now. I need to think about this. And it was actually it was fabulous special. And I think he's done 4 total on marijuana. And now the most recent one really focused on CBD and CBD from hemp. But the parents were desperate. These were like super straight-laced parents. I think the dad was in the military. The mom, stayed home with this kid. And they did a bunch of research and realized that they had heard that medicinal marijuana could be beneficial potentially. They went, and the Stanley brothers, who were some marijuana growers from Colorado, they now make some really good CBD products as well. They had a strain of then marijuana that they were like, this is a strain, we made it to be high in CBD, but we don't think anyone's going to want it because it can't get you high. And so that was probably one of the first recognitions that, like, holy cow, this girl's seizures stopped immediately. It was
kind of goes along with the whole ketogenic diet thing. Like, that's supposed to help epilepsy as well. And so there's
we're learning some really cool stuff. So I think, there are other people who are looking into this already and realizing that we have what's called an endocannabinoid system in our body. Just like we have a digestive system and a respiratory system, there is a system called the endocannabinoid system, or the ECS for short, that is basically your system for balancing your body. And we, again, it's like our body is like, we have the system, and it's like a tightrope walker, and it's constantly adjusting to keep us in balance. And that system has receptors throughout our body. We have a lot of receptors in our brain. We have receptors in our immune system. We have receptors that form when we have an injury at the site of pain. There are all these receptors that are CB1 and CB2 receptors, and they're basically CBD, this compound that is very high in the hemp plant, acts upon these receptors and kind of activates them. So our body is sort of wired for cannabinoids, and we make cannabinoids. So there are endocannabinoids, and endo means within. These are cannabinoids our body makes. So unlike omega-3, we were just talking about, where our bodies can't make the omega-3 we need, our bodies actually make CBD. They make endocannabinoids. We make cannabinoids within our body, and those are the endocannabinoids. And then phyto means plant. Phytocannabinoids are the cannabinoids that come from plants. And hemp happens to be the plant that is most, packed with cannabinoids. In particular, so there are a number of different kinds of cannabinoids. THC is a cannabinoid. Cannabidiol or CBD is a cannabinoid. There are some other cannabinoids as well. There are a bunch of them. But hemp is really high in CBD, and CBD acts upon these receptors in our body. And they're throughout our body. There are 2 different types. They kind of do different things. But again, it's our system for balance, which is really fascinating. And it's a system that was only discovered in I think in the 60s. So we're still learning a lot about the system and what it does and how it works. And there's some phenomenal research being done. We recommend people, if they're interested in CBD, go look on really reputable websites like the NIH, the National Institutes of Health. Look for some of the studies that are being done. Medscape, which is a system that, physicians and healthcare providers use to look at what research is being done and what studies are out there. There are a number of really good places to go to sort of look for research on different things. But right now, there's so much research being done on CBD in particular, and what it can do for people, and how it reacts in our body, and the benefits that people might receive from it. In the last, I think it was called Weed 4, and it was the last Sanjay Gupta special that came out pretty recently. He was looking at, apparently there are people who are getting tremendous benefits with opioid addiction. And which is incredible, because as you know, that's such a huge health
that's
problem.
very addictive.
So there's just some really neat stuff that's going on, and there's a lot of good research being done out there. We don't know all the answers yet, but we do know that this compound is making a difference for a lot of people's lives, and is worth looking into for people in case they're just not making enough. I think, if our bodies are perfect and we're eating a perfect diet, and, we're getting everything we need, and we're doing everything right, and we have no stress, our body can do a lot of this stuff itself. But we know that that's not always the life we live. So that's why we supplement. We shouldn't have to supplement in a perfect world, but we don't always live in a perfect world, most of us. So, that's when people, you need to look at, can you get a high quality supplement to help with some of the things that maybe your body is lacking a little bit? And that's where I think people are looking at CBD for a bunch of different things.
Yeah, and I know I was joking about it makes me happy, but I had the same effect with fish oil. I went to this conference, and Barry Sears was there, and it was Beth Shaw that runs Yoga Fit, which is a big organization that I interned with them as well. And so I was, noticing they laughed a lot, and they were all doing all this fish oil. Yeah. And so I noticed the same effects with fish oil as I did with hemp. So I really think it's a lot to do with the way that it's affecting the brain, having, it run on efficient oil. That's what we need. We need those omega-3s.
And most Americans are very deficient in omega-3. We do not eat fatty fish, 3 or 4 times a week like we should. So if we're doing that, awesome. You're probably fine. But I think it's something like 92 or 93% of Americans are deficient in omega-3. It is really, it's actually it's a problem. And I think that it's a really important thing that if you're not eating, mackerel or salmon or some of these other fatty fish on a really regular basis, you probably are deficient, and you really should consider supplementing.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I recognized that, a lot of us in society, we might be depressed, and it could be you're not getting enough sunlight. It could be you're not getting enough essential fatty acids. It could be you're not getting enough exercise. So these are things that you could actually take care of very easily without any side effects, without any heavy doses of medication. If you're having, from time to time feeling a little depressed. And so my mother suffered from depression. So I'm very in tune with, natural things that we could do to lift ourselves up. So to me, this is a very important conversation today about the essential fatty acids. One thing I wanted to ask you is when I take hemp seeds, I do that quite frequently for competition. So it's got a lot of protein in it too. Does the oil have protein in it?
You know, that's a good, I honestly can't say that I know the answer to that. I'd have to find out.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to look into that for you.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a great question.
Okay, because I know like when I take the seed, literally there's 10 grams of protein in it. Like,
yeah, which is impressive.
I only have to have, I mean, very little of it. Like, I'm like, great, so it's such a pure form of protein. So I do a lot of hemp. So now I'm interested to find out about the oil. I can't wait to try it.
Yeah, and you know, and there's sort of, you know, a lot of people are already cooking with sort of hemp oil, hemp seed oil. And that's
can you cook with it? You can cook with the hemp oil?
Hemp seed oil, yeah, people are using hemp seed oil. And then there's sort of, so if they're looking for CBD, there is a difference between hemp seed oil from sort of what people are often using as a culinary oil and hemp-derived CBD oil. So,
so one you don't cook with.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, really, if you're looking for the CBD, you want to be looking for something that clearly has CBD in it. And to be really honest, because there's a lot of gray area around CBD oil, and there are a lot of states are confused. They still equate it to marijuana. They're like, oh, it's cannabis. So it's like, yeah, but it's not the cannabis that gets you high. Again, it's lemons and oranges that are both citrus. But there's a lot of confusion about it. And so, you know, you want to make sure if you're looking for the CBD. Again, hemp seed oil is great for a whole bunch of other things, and people use that from sort of a culinary standpoint and add it to things and add it in their smoothies. That's great. CBD hemp oil is a different creature. So for people who are looking for CBD specifically, just be aware that it could be a little confusing when you're in the store. And if you see hemp seed oil, flip it around, read the back, figure out, does it say cannabidiol or CBD on it? And look at how many milligrams of that, if that's what you're looking for. And if that's not what you're looking for, then you know at least to be aware that there are two different things that sound, and some companies will just label it sort of like, you know, hemp oil, and that's when people need to do a little more research. I mean, we put CBD on the front of ours because we know we don't want to have people get confused. But, you know, you really want to find something that has that CBD. And, you know, we have two different products. We have one that's a certified organic, which is not common out there at all. I think we're one of the very first companies to offer a USDA certified organic CBD hemp oil. So that's really exciting. And then we have what we call our extra strength, which has 25 milligrams of CBD per serving. And it's a dropper. So I always tell people, like, you don't have to start with 25 milligrams of CBD. Like, just because that's the serving size doesn't mean you need to. We tell people start low and slow. Take, you know, try 5 drops and see, does that feel like anything? And CBD is something that tends to build up in your system. Over time, you kind of accumulate a little bit, so you may get to a better level. So we encourage people to some people we'll have people that say, oh my gosh, I take CBD oil and I feel a difference immediately. I feel some change in my body. And other people are like, I don't really feel anything, but over time I felt like it was addressing these issues for me. So, you know, I think that's one thing we tell people, you know, everybody's body is different. So just because, you know, we have a 25 milligrams per serving CBD hemp oil, that's higher than some of you need out there, but you don't need to take 25, like take 5 milligrams. It's pretty easy to, you know, figure it out by how many drops you're putting under your tongue. So that's one of the things that, you know, we encourage people to kind of like figure out start low, start slow, see what feels right for you, and recognize that for some people, it's an accumulation over time, and some people feel something immediately, and everybody's different. I'm not one of the people who feels something immediately. I have a coworker who says, oh no, if I take any CBD oil, I feel something different immediately. So it's just, you know, realize that everybody's body is different, and we all may, you know, we may have different levels of what our body is needing in that moment too. Again, we're feeding a system that's in our body, and everybody's system is going to be in a different place.
Well, too, I think, like, I feel things almost immediately, but I do a lot of detoxing, and I keep my system pretty pure and clean. And so I think sometimes you may feel something a little quicker, you know, or I even think it has a lot to do with, like, if you have a low body fat, you know, things affect you differently. So yeah, I'm in agreement with everything is going to be a little different, you know, for you than it is for me, or vice versa. Now, if somebody does has a job, they periodically drug test.
Great question.
It's not going to show up on a drug test, is it?
Well, so here's the thing. So you cannot legally sell CBD hemp oil in the U.S. that has more than 0.3% or 0.3% of THC. Now, I will say, we tell people it is really unlikely. So they're most likely testing for THC. That's what people are testing for with the drug test.
Okay. That's what I figured. But
yeah. So if you're sort of taking a typical moderate amount of CBD hemp oil, it's highly unlikely that you're going to fail a drug test. But just like, if a person like pounds poppy seeds, they might show up on a drug test for, opioids because, that's where they come from. I mean,
if they like those lemon poppy seed muffins every morning.
Yeah, right, I had a poppy seed bagel. Am I going to fail my drug test? It's kind of the same thing.
One of my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, if you ate, a pound of poppy seeds before your drug test, you might have an issue, that you can, but then explain. So if you are a person who's taking huge amounts of the CBD hemp oil, there are trace amounts of THC in it. They're very trace. But again, if you're somebody who's taking like very large amounts, it's possible it could show up on a drug test. But I think then they're like, oh, I take CBD hemp oil. It has a trace amount of, it's kind of like the poppy seed thing. So for most people, they really don't need to worry about it. But the truth is it could show up. If you're taking a lot and the way your body metabolizes it, there is a small chance. I mean, we don't want to tell people, oh no, you'll never have that problem. You conceivably could. It would be pretty unlikely. And I think then you come back and it's like the poppy seed example. You could explain, you know what, I use this product. It has trace amounts of this. It's a legal product. Here it is. And, it's like the poppy seed bagel thing. So I don't think people need to get stressed about it. But the truth of it is that it is conceivable that it could show up if you're using a lot.
Well, I love all this good information, and I really love a lot of what you've said about the company. It's family owned. It's been around for 29 years, and I really want you to share with the audience what Bruce Barleans, his mission, his, I guess, how he wants to make an impact on the world. I want you to share that with the audience, because I think it's key that knowing a little bit besides about the product, just knowing about the company makes you want to use their products, I think.
Yeah, it's I'm really fortunate to work for a pretty incredible company. So Barleans, we're 29 years old. Next year will be 30 years. We are family owned. And we started off, Bruce Barlean became really passionate about flax and the benefits of flax as a plant and all of the amazing things that flax does in your body. And flax seed is really one of those sort of superfoods. We really believe that. There are so many benefits. I mean, apart from the fact that it's the best source for omega-3s in a plant form, people talk to us, they're like, oh my goodness, I use flaxseed and my hair got so much better and my skin, and my things clear up on skin issues and hair. And I mean, it's just one of these really great things that, and so
hormones, right?
Oh, yes. And the lignans in flax are natural estrogen balancers, and they're actually beneficial for testosterone as well. I mean, it's hormones. Yeah. So many things that flax is one of these sort of miracle things that even if you're taking fish oil, you should probably also be taking your flax oil for all these other great reasons. I mean, it is a truly extraordinary plant. So we started as a flax oil company. Bruce Barlean, really kind of got into flax, did a lot of research into flax, and learned a little bit more about this plant and the better way to press the seeds into oil. And that's kind of how our company started, was he realized, so people who are passionate about flax and take flax every day probably know that, if you just eat flax seeds straight, you're not going to benefit from it because they're the tiny seeds. They have a hard shell, a hull, and it's unless you grind them up with your teeth, they're going to go right through your body and you're probably not going to get any of the good stuff out of them. But if you have flax that's been ground into flour and then it's sitting out in the air and light are getting to it and moisture is getting to it, it's a very delicate seed once you crack it open, and those beneficial nutrients start to go away with light and oxygen are very detrimental to them. So people laugh. when if I could take you into our pressing rooms for flax, you would see what I mean. The tubes are all opaque and black. It's, it's dark. The flax is not allowed to, touch oxygen more than apps. I mean, we are passionate about flax. I mean, we are just, we're a little nerdish about our flaxseed and flaxseed oil, and it's, it's pressed and it's immediately.
I'm nerdish about my health, so hey, I can appreciate it.
Right? I mean, really, truly, like everything's draped in black, and every pipe is opaque and black, and light and oxygen are kept away from our flax products as much as possible. And Bruce learned that if he kind of crushed the seed instead of like fully smashing, grinding it, you retained more of those nutrients. So that's where our company started, was from this passion about creating a better flaxseed oil and better flax, like ground flax products for people that maintained all of those really important nutrients, including little trace nutrients that are in there that nobody sort of thinks about and talks about that much. So that's how we started, from a place of just passion about getting people the very, very best product for flax that we could. And, so literally he and his father developed an entire new form of flax press that pressed flax in a way that wasn't being done otherwise. And, what happened really quickly was that this flax oil started winning all sorts of awards all around the world for taste and quality.
Yeah.
And
that isn't created equal either. So
yes.
Yeah, I do like the taste of your flax.
Yeah, and it's a plant. It's from nature, so you have a different amount of rain, or there's a different weather patterns, and the taste changes sometimes. Last year was a little bit more of a bitter year. I mean, and we have it's kind of like at a winery, we have people who like sample.
I've used it like butter in my oatmeal. Like,
yes,
I mean, it's like delicious.
Yeah, so we, we're really passionate about the taste and the quality and all that stuff. But we sort of took off as a company because we had this exceptionally perfect flax oil that was organic and beautiful, and it really launched Barleans as a company. And the company did quite well. It's family owned. The family did quite well. We expanded into fish oils and really wanted to focus on the very best fish oils and the highest quality, and then the best taste. And so that's been sort of the backbone of our company for everything we do is, can we make it in a way that we can really provide a quality product that people can get from us? So, at a certain point, Barleans was doing rather well. And, Bruce and the family kind of said, we're fine. We're good financially. Like we've made it, more and more and more isn't necessarily better. We don't need more stuff. So now let's take the success that we've had as a company, and this was in 2013, and Bruce legitimately just changed the whole nature of this company and said, this company now, as he puts it, is we make good stuff to do good stuff. And we're running this company, not to keep getting richer and richer, but to take our good fortune and to put it back out into the world. And so he calls it his pathway to a better life, where he says, we've been fortunate in our lives, and we've been able to do this thing that we're passionate about and do well with it and be, in a good financial place. We think it's important now that we take our success and help other people do that. So that extends down to, the farmers that grow our stuff, all of our suppliers, treating them, not trying to like squeeze every nickel out of them and try to, get more for less, but to treat them with dignity and respect for what they do and pay fair prices, through to our employees and just some of the employee benefits we have. I mean, just as an example, one of the benefits we have as employees is $5,000 a year toward like tuition benefit reimbursement. So basically people can take classes. And I will tell you what's really interesting and cool is, a couple months ago, we had a guy, we do a company luncheon once a month where Bruce gets up and we talk as a company, and, the company buys every lunch, and all of our shifts do this lunch. And there was a guy who was leaving the company for a different job, and Bruce Barleen called him up, and he had used our tuition benefit to get an education for something that he wanted to do. And we didn't have that job at Barleans. It was a job that we don't have available, but this is where this guy really wanted to go with in his life. And he had started in the production facility, and he took advantage of these classes and got himself to the point where he could be hired to do this thing that we just don't have that position available. And instead of sort of being like, oh gosh, we invested this money and now you're leaving us, it was completely the opposite.
Yeah,
where
I love
the
that.
response was, hey guys, remember to use this benefit, because even if it's not that you can use it here, that's your pathway to a better life that we've been able to help provide. And it was celebrating the fact that this guy was able to do the thing that he wanted to move toward and grow into because we had been able to provide a benefit that got him there. And that's just kind of a great way to,
actually, it made me a little, my eyes sting a little.
But that's the genuine sort of nature. And so, and like I said, we don't bash our competitors. I mean, we've had competitors that have kind of talked down Barleans and Bruce will not go there. He just, you know what? That's not our philosophy. If they can do something better than us, good. Then people should buy that. And if we can do something better, great. And there's plenty of people who need good products. So if we can all make better products, that's a good thing, even if it means that somebody's buying somebody else's because it's also good. And that extends out to our retailers and the folks that we work with. So that's kind of part of it. And we also then take a lot of the profits from our company, and we put them into what Bruce calls benevolence. And so we work with, some small organizations. We do a lot locally. I want to say we did something like, and again, these numbers could be not exact, but something around 2,000 of our jars of coconut oil per month to food banks locally in our area, in the last couple of years. And I mean, it's just a tremendous amount of coconut oil because we realize this is something that, so many people who rely on food banks get things that are like really near date, near expiration, or it's just, they get the stuff that nobody wants or the stuff that nobody bought. Or things that are about to go bad, where coconut oil, will last and last and last for a long time. So we thought if this is something that we can provide for people, it's something they can use. They can substitute this healthier oil for one that's less healthy in their lives. And we donated, I think it was literally 2,000 jars per month to local food banks. Now, the cool thing for me was, and I think this again sort of sums up the genuine nature of Bruce doing these things and our company doing things. The Barleans logo was nowhere on that label. We created a separate label for that coconut oil that did not have Barleans logo.
So
it was not about our company getting credit. It was about giving something that people needed. And that to me,
that's really,
I mean, I almost got
and genuine, and that's awesome.
When I saw that label, I was like, wow, our logo's not on here, and instead it was like,
that speaks loud.
Isn't that neat? I mean, I love that. So, and that's really, so, and then we do a lot around the world. We're a huge contributor to Vitamin Angels. So vitamin A deficiency is the leading cause of childhood blindness around the world. It's not expensive to supplement kids with vitamin A, but there are many places in the world where kids don't have that really basic nutrient that we pretty much take for granted. And, I think we supplemented something like 4 million kids or something last year. I mean, that's a wonderful organization.
That is totally a movement.
It's huge. And Vitamin Angels is a great organization. And again, they sort of focused on, this is something really basic. It's actually not expensive to give these kids this supplement, but we got to do it. And so companies like ours, contribute and provide the resources for them to be able to just get this really basic nutrient for kids to prevent childhood blindness. I mean, and talk about, being able to make a difference in kids' lives. If you're living in these areas of severe poverty and you're blind, your life is just so much harder. So that's such a little thing that
your life would be harder regardless of where you live.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're really involved with Compassion International. We're involved with Kidstown. We're involved with a whole bunch of organizations around the world that deal with sort of health and wellness. One of the things we try to do when we work with these organizations is we will often donate to their best use fund. So in other words, it can be really tempting as a company to be like, donate to the splashy kind of sexy cause. And as a marketing person, I understand that. So, to be like, oh, this is the thing that everybody's talking about, so we'll donate to that fund. But so what we try to do is actually find long-term partners in our charitable giving, where we look at and we really carefully vet these organizations. We say, this organization does really good work, and maybe they work in a bunch of different areas, but instead of saying like, we only want our money to go to this thing, we basically say, we're going to give you this money and we want you to put it where it's most needed. That gives them the ability to, maybe it is administrative, maybe it's the fact that they need to fly people or do things, or maybe it's the emergency that suddenly crops up that they don't have time to sort of do PR around to get donations toward. So we try to vet those care organizations really carefully, know that we have a good partnership. We want it to be a long-term partnership because we believe in that organization. And then when we give them money, we try to give it to let them decide where it really needs to go, as opposed to sort of going to the flashy thing. We're also really involved in Autism Hope Alliance and Generation Rescue. A lot of parents, when their kids are diagnosed with autism, will hear from their healthcare providers to get those kids on omega-3 fatty acids again. And we just happen to have those Omega Swirl, seriously delicious products that, it doesn't work. Kids will take it. And when you have a child with autism, it doesn't always work. Like, you just got to take your supplement, Johnny. It's like, that doesn't fly with kids who are on the autism spectrum. So we are very involved with those organizations. We donate a lot to them to help them do the work that they're doing. We have a really cool program that we started this past year where we actually, and it's an honor policy program, but if somebody gets in touch with us and they are on the autism spectrum or they have a family member on the autism spectrum, they automatically can get wholesale pricing from us. So
I love that. I love that.
Just
that
because, when you have a child on the spectrum or you're on this, you have a lot of other expenses. So we try to kind of say, we know that you may be looking for these products and they're not inexpensive products. So if we can help by offering you wholesale so that you have the benefit of those products and you can afford them, then we're happy to do that. So that's a program that we've, our Autism Hope program, we call it, and we just extend that pricing to people automatically.
Well, what a great company and what a legacy that Bruce Barleans has built. And it's awesome that we get this great product, but he's also contributing and making an impact on the world. I'm just like overwhelmed. This has just been such a good, informative podcast, but also I always love hearing about companies that have such goodwill and spread it around the world.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Inquiring minds want to know. This was the topic last night on my sweat project. Where is because we're looking for coconut oil and I haven't tried your coconut oil.
Okay.
Is it coconutty? Is it gonna are my eggs gonna taste like coconuts?
Okay. This is actually a great question. I'm glad you asked it. We actually make 3 different kinds of coconut oil. We make your standard virgin. All of our coconut oils are organic. I should start by saying that. So just so you know, we make a virgin organic coconut oil, which does taste coconutty, has that like quintessential coconut taste and smell. And for people who are looking for that in certain recipes, it's great. Yeah. But we recognize not all recipes is great. Right. You maybe don't want your eggs to taste like coconuts. Yeah. Or maybe I have a daughter who can't stand the taste of coconut, but I want to cook with coconut oil.
Right.
So we also make a culinary coconut oil where we basically have stripped out that coconut taste and smell. Yay. So it has basically no taste or smell, essentially. It's a very neutral oil. It also has a higher smoke point. So that smoke point on the culinary goes up to about 400 degrees. So you can do sauteing and things that you maybe can't always do with a virgin coconut oil. And then we have a really exciting product, and I'm going to send you all of these because I want you to try them all. We took that culinary coconut oil. And we actually, again, we have our brilliant formulator who's so good with taste that he can make fish oil taste good. So the other thing he can make, we took botanical extracts and added them to that culinary coconut oil, the sort of tasteless, smell, odorless one. And we have a butter-flavored coconut oil.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
No, and it's entirely
my people are going to go crazy.
It's so good. It's so good.
Okay, how did you find the answer already? Because this was just last night.
Full disclosure, I am an Irish girl. My mom is Irish, so butter is sacrosanct to me. I mean, in my fridge, there's coconut oil. Well, I keep my coconut oil out of the fridge, but, there's like butter, and then there's mom's special butter that no one's allowed to use because I love butter. I mean, I like to get butter as well. I'm picky about my butter. Right, but I'm super picky about my butter. Now, I will say, if I have that like beautiful piece of phenomenal bread that's worth eating and I'm going to put butter on it, between you and me, I'm going to put real butter on that because I love the taste of butter. But I will tell you, for everything else, I have switched over to that butter flavored coconut oil because for baking, so my daughter uses it
I'm
when
excited because Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
butter I use far and few between. I mean, I have like grass-fed butter, but
Yes.
still.
Yeah, we have our special butter, but anywhere I kind of put it anywhere that butter is going to melt. Like if I'm putting it on a piece of toast, or I'm putting it on a baked potato, or I'm maybe putting it over grilled vegetables, and I want a little. That butter flavored coconut oil is phenomenal. I mean, it doesn't taste exactly like real butter if you're a butter snob like I am, so I'm not going to pretend it does, but you get that amazing sort of butter taste with botanical extracts.
That's exciting.
All the other way, and you can use it for anything. You substitute it one for one in recipes for regular butter. And I'm going to send you some because I want you to try it. It's amazing.
Wait, that's awesome.
And it can also be used for things like sauteing. I think the smoke point on that one is 375. So it still goes up pretty high. So if you want to do something pan fried and you want that little bit of butteriness, it's a great substitute.
Well, I have this gift. I create recipes and make them healthy, and people rave over them. I've been stingy with a few lately because I'm going to put them in a book, another book coming out. So, but I'm very excited about this product because I see potential for my baking. So.
Oh yeah, your baking's gonna love it, and you know what else is gonna love it is popcorn. It's so good on popcorn. It's ridiculous.
Yay! Awesome.
I mean, it's
awesome.
really a great product. It's I think your fans are gonna love it too. It's great.
Well, awesome. Now, it's time to say goodbye to Ola. Instead of Ola, we're going to say adiosa. No, I'm just kidding. But you guys, where can they get your products again? Because I am sure people are going to be wanting to try the swirls and the CBD oil and the buttery coconut oil.
Yeah, so we are in, independent health food stores across the country. If you have a local health food store, go in there and talk to them and ask them if they carry Barleans. Again, I'm a big fan of the little guy. So if you could shop with the little guy and keep them open, please do. If you don't have that option, you can find our products, online. We sell through Amazon. Most of our products, if not all of them, are available through Amazon. So again, if your local retailer doesn't carry it, ask them to. But if they can't get it in or they don't have the ability to get it, then by all means, it's Amazon's there and carries pretty much everything that we make. Some of our products are available even in Costco. Costco, a lot of healthy foods.
I love Costco.
So Costco, Sprouts, Vitamin Shop, a lot of those larger sort of health, Whole Foods, a lot of the larger sort of health food chains as well. So and if, you can also always call us. I should know our 800 number off the top of my head, but I don't. I think it's 1-800-335-FLAX, but I'll have to get it to you.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, good. Please do. Yeah, so you can call Barleans directly and order through our customer service department if you want to do that. So that's another way.
Awesome. It has been
wherever you are, you should be able to get your Barleans.
Yes, and I'm sure people are going to want to get the product. I'm 100% sure now. So I am very happy, and I just want to thank you so much. I'm happy because I do the hemp and I do the fish oil. But I just want to thank you so much for coming on the Sisterhood of Sweat. You guys make sure to reach out to Ola on social media. Where can they reach you on social media? Oh yeah, we're all the places. So we're, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and, just look for Barleans and you'll find us. Yeah. And also make sure you guys check out Barleans.com for all of your fish oil, all of your oils, all of your essential fatty acid needs. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Sisterhood of Sweat.